It's Only Sport with Martin Devlin on the platform. Brought to you by One New Zealand. Let's get connected.
Murray Mexted joins us on the platform. Okay, Mex, we've had a couple of days to think about that and absorb that. So, how do you feel about it today?
Well, I feel about the same as I did before the game started, Marty. Now, that sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? But when we spoke about the test in Johannesburg, I said to you I thought the Boks went in at favourites, but we'd probably win in Cape Town. Well, the Boks won, first of all, in Johannesburg. And then when I saw the team announced for Cape Town, I changed my mind and decided it would be a tall order for that team to beat the Boks. And so it played out that way. I was sort of surprised, really, in many respects, because our forward pack, was over 20 kgs lighter than their forward pack. And I think that's for the first time it's been that big a disparity. And the second thing is that the height of the All Blacks was significantly lower than the Springboks. So, possession these days is from aerial possession more than any other phase in the game, which includes kickoffs, lineouts, and kicks and play. So possession's going to be harder when your 8 forwards are all shorter than the opposition by several inches. And so I thought we'd battle for possession. And, if you can't win 50% of your ball, 50% of the ball available in the match against the Springboks in South Africa, then you're not going to win the game. And the way it turned out is that we actually won 46% of the ball. So just under the 50% mark, and that's my mark, because I just think that, referees are under so much pressure in South Africa to be watching the opposition more than the South African team. They're forced by the, it's the officious pressure that comes on them from all and sundry. And so they can't help it, but subconsciously they go into the field looking for All Black mistakes. And whenever you look for mistakes, you'll find them. I thought it was disgraceful refereeing in many respects. It was sort of an exhibition of how to keep control of a game. So, and that limits the rugby. And when I look at it, I think the All Blacks didn't score a try, Marty.
No. And
I'm trying to think when the All Blacks never scored a try again. And I don't think it's been in this decade, and I don't think it's been in the last decade. Did I play the decade before?
No. I tell you what, it has been. It was in 2018. We scored 9 points against Ireland, no try. 2017, the drawn test against the Lions, no try. Sorry, the second test it was. We got 21 points. It was all kicks. So it's actually happened 3 times in the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Okay, so my memory is disgraceful.
There's so many games these days, mate. You're excused.
I think I have selective memory then. So, in other words, what you're telling me is it's 6 years ago or 7 years ago since we didn't score. That's a reasonable amount of time. But, I find it very hard to believe that the Boks scored the only 2 tries in the game. And, when you look at the flow of the game, we only saw a little bit of flow in All Black favour. I think the Springboks made so many fundamental errors, drop balls, knock-ons, things like that, that they turned over quite a lot of possession from actually skill mistakes. And 46% doesn't sound a lot under 50%, but it is when the opposition's mistakes are from things like knock-ons. Whereas, I just thought with our line out, when you look at our 3 loose forwards, they're all about 6'1", 6'2". And you've got guys that are 2 metres in the opposition loose forwards, and the same with our locks in many respects. 196 and 2 metres against 2.6 metres and 2.3 3, I think it was, or 2. So there was a big difference in height, so line-outs were always going to be a problem. You'd have to say, who is our line-out? See, I've said for years now that you need more than 3, at least 3, a minimum, absolute minimum of 3 good line-out jumpers. So normally you get the 2 locks that are capable of winning ball, and one of the loose forwards, possibly 2. You don't have to look back very far to see that the All Blacks have actually had 4 line-out forwards in many years. You look back at guys like Frizzell, Jerome Kano, Kieran Reid, these sorts of guys, and there are a hell of a lot of line-out forwards in the loose forwards. We didn't have any that could compete against the opposition, particularly on their ball. And in fact, if you look at the number of line-outs, we did well in a way because we moved it around, but we still lost the line-out battle. So when you lose possession, you got a hard road to hoe. And I think there was only one fluid passage of play that I saw from the All Black team in that match. It was a hell of a tense game, wasn't it? And it was you couldn't take your eyes off it really. But I thought the show pony of the game was the referee. I thought that he ran the whole show. There's no doubt about that. Which is a shame, when you're seeing the 2 best teams in the world play against each other, and the guy that you see most on the field is the referee. It's tragic. But anyway, that's the way it goes. And I think World Rugby need to look at that.
Mex, do we ever accept losing? I hear a lot, I read a lot about, look, this All Black team is this, and we need this, and we've got time, and we have to do this. And, 3 losses in 7 tests this year, and the Fiji one was just a training exercise. So, a couple of parts to this question, though. I mean, are we meant to sit back as fans now and go, okay, it's okay for the All Blacks to lose 2, 3, 4 test matches a year because we're rebuilding and all of these other excuses? Is that valid?
No, well, you're asking the wrong person here because obviously my opinion is coloured by the fact that, I expect the All Black team to win every game. I'm sure as hell during my era, my period playing for the All Blacks, I know we were expected to win every game. And in fact, as you know, you look over 100 years of All Black performances, and when you win 80% of the time for 100 years, you've got to say you get used to winning. And, and that was, in the old days, it was the fear of losing that used to drive us. Do you want to be part of a team an All Black team that loses? No, thank you. So, I expect them all to win. So when I heard this test series in South Africa, 2 tests, I thought, firstly, fantastic. 2 best teams in the world meeting on South African soil, it'll be fantastic. But it brings in a whole lot of other complexities. And, we spoke about altitude, and people underrate altitude. You say, why did the All Black team fade in the last 10 minutes in Johannesburg? Well, last 15 minutes. Well, I reckon it was altitude. And our second tier that came on maybe weren't as good as our first tier. In Cape Town, I reckon it was size. We just physically weren't big enough to continue winning our share of possession, or more than our share of possession, and controlling the match. We had no control over that match. I thought we did really well in Cape Town, actually, to be in the race. But, the whole game is influenced, isn't it, by the number of people that are set, the number of penalties. There is certainly some areas that the game needs to be looked at and freed up a certain amount. And I think we've spoken about before about if you play Super Rugby where Stanzar is saying, let's be liberal, let the game flow, let the game be a success and interesting and enjoyable for people to play and to watch. And you do that, and then you go into a international window and you have British referees or European referees that are under the microscope all the time and used to blowing the whistle all the time and dominating the game. Gone are the days that we can't remember who the referee was in the game. And I'd love to see that come back. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion. And I do expect the All Blacks to win each game. And when I I couldn't confess. I couldn't say to you on air, I think the Springboks will win in Johannesburg. I said the Springboks will go in as favourites, but will win in Cape Town. And I was hoping like hell we were going to win in Cape Town. But when I saw the team announced, I thought the chances were unlikely.
It's Only Sport with Martin Devlin on the platform. Brought to you by One New Zealand. Let's get connected.